noise.
What would you say? What was the Revolution band dynamic like back in the day?
The dynamic.
I mean, did you guys spend any time together away from music, and you know, how cordial and friendly was it? You know,
I would say it's the same as it is today. I mean, we never changed. We used to always go as a group, go out to dinner. We always rode on the bus together, so we were always together. You know, 8-9 months out of a year, you're in a tour bus, city after city, and we did that time and time again. So you develop a real closeness. Wendy, even when Dez was in the band, Wendy used to come out frequently and travel with Lisa. So I mean, we were all used to being together, and so the dynamics are very family. I call us the Brady Bunch. That's what I call us. You know, many people have heard me say that, but that's what it was like to me. It was one of my favorite shows growing up, and I considered us like the Brady Bunch. I mean, you know, when Wendy came in, I was like, Marcia, Marcia, Marcia. You know, I was always complaining, you know, because Prince gave her all the attention. I was like, what about me? You know, and so I mean, it was a family. It was fun, you know, but it had its moments, its tense moments. But that's what we were. We were a family unit, and I mean, I loved it. To this day, I love it because we have our fights. You know, don't get me wrong now. You know, we disagree with each other on a lot of stuff, but like family, we work it out. We punch through, and we do our thing.
You know, we could talk about Prince's talent endlessly because it seemed to be endless. But, you know, if you had to distill it down, I'm going to try to make you do that, to one thing, what would you say was most impressive about his musical ability or talent?
The most impressive thing to me is his ability to understand the theory of any music. I don't care what it was. When you learn the theory, then everything else is like gravy. And it was one of the biggest lessons I learned from him. And I'll give you an example. There wasn't a single song that he would approach. He would say, he would start a groove and then he'd go off into an Elvis Presley-like thing. You know, he would go into this Elvis thing, and if you understand, you get into the head of Elvis Presley, you get into the head of Elvis Presley's band, you'll understand what it was that they were doing. You understand the theory of it, you understand the depth of it and the feel of it. Next thing you know, you'll deliver just that. And Prince had the amazing ability, I don't care what it was, Mozart to Miles Davis. I mean, it really didn't matter what it was. I mean, this dude understood the theory behind it, and that's what made him so, you know, profound. I mean, this dude could just play anything. And then he would go on each instrument and he could deliver it. You know, if you were having a struggle with trying to find the feel of it or whatever, man, he could get on your instrument and show you in a few seconds, you know, what it's supposed to feel like. And it was just amazing. That was the most amazing part of him to me. I call him modern day Mozart. That's what I call him, the modern day Mozart. He was a genius.
Kind of like I'm thinking like a musical chameleon almost. Just able to get within the skin of whatever it was.
Absolutely, that's a perfect analogy of what he was. He was a chameleon, you know, and still.
So you obviously eventually parted ways with the Revolution, and I want to talk about that a little bit. But I guess on that in your book, I was so it was interesting for me to learn that on that final tour, you were kind of almost like a bit of a mercenary in a way. You were kind of like on your own deal, and I don't think the rest of the band even necessarily knew that was going on.
They didn't know. And after Purple Rain, it was over for me. I was done. The Purple Rain was for me. I had had enough of, I got promised so much stuff, and at one point I just had to say to myself, this is great. I'm on top of the world right now, but he's having a great time. I mean, he got a bank account, me, I'm like, I wasn't living with mom anymore, but all it took was one bad month and I'd be moving back in with mom. The bank account didn't reflect the fame, the success. And like I had Grammys, I had music awards, I had 22 gold and platinum albums, But I would look at all that. I had a studio, I had a nice house at the top of the hill. But when I went to balance my checkbook, it didn't balance out. I knew it was just a matter of time when this is all going to end. If I don't start making moves on my own, I knew. I just saw the writing on the wall. And it wasn't that I didn't love playing in the Revolution. It's just I had to, at that point, learn how to be a businessman. And it was bad business for me to stay in the environment that I was in because I was slowly but surely being phased out for whatever reason. I have my theories on why. And, I put a couple of them in the book there, but, I felt like my days were numbered. And so I did what any smart business person would do. And I set up a contract type of situation between he and I. There was no longer this retainer type system that the band was under, where we got retainers, and then we relied on a tour retainer, and then we relied on a bonus, based on sales and everything. Nothing matched, it's like, man, we're getting pimped, and so that was the attitude that I had. And he used to always say to me, we brothers got to stick together and we got to help one another. I'm like, okay, well, help my bank account, and so I think he knew at that point I was starting to learn. And so he didn't want me to quit. So he did a contract with me, but he told me, you have to keep this quiet. He made me sign a document saying I couldn't talk. Mm-hmm. And so, I signed it. I kept my mouth shut for almost 2 years or so, I just shut up.
Were you surprised when, you kind of left and then he ended up disbanding the Revolution?
No, I wasn't at all. It made me sad that he did. I was hoping that he would have just hired another bass player and kept it going, but it didn't surprise me because the bottom end was so significant in the way the sound was, our sound, a lot of that bottom moved. It was like that freight train. And the way me and Bobby played together, we developed a unique kind of bottom end sound. You remove that, it's a whole different beast, And I think Prince knew that, and I think he got angry about it a little bit near the end there. He didn't get angry at me. He got angry at the fact that he knew that there was no turning around. I was gone. I was going to leave. He came to me.
Something out of his control. That was probably hard to deal with. Yeah.
Totally out of his control, and he knew it. And in the movie, I have no speaking parts. I started disappearing. I watched the videos every night. That's how I would help with, I was able to form choreography, the whole band moving together and all that. That wasn't by chance. I mean, he put me in charge of creating that movement on the stage, but yet there's no accolades that came from it. See, and it's like, I'm like, I'm contributing, I'm helping you reach this pinnacle, but I felt like there was nothing in it for me anymore. And so when I departed with him, it was on good. I mean, we were, you know, it was positive. It wasn't negative. It wasn't. I didn't leave on bad terms, but he knew it was over for me. He knew it, and that last show, Yokohama Stadium, you could tell he was very emotional. He destroying stuff on stage. And, he was acting out. Everybody was kind of looking at each other, but me, I kind of knew what was going on. I just didn't say nothing. But I was like, well, he knows this is it. Unless he could rebuild this some other kind of way, I think he knew it was over. And 6 months later, he calling me up. I went up to Paisley, or, Paisley wasn't quite finished yet. And I remember he said to me, he said, okay, I'm putting together a new group called MPG, New Power Generation. And I want you to be in this band. It's going to be Sheila E., Levi on guitar with Miko, and you on bass. I was like, that'll be a funky group.
Did you know Levi and Miko at that point?
Yeah, man. It was two bad cats, and I was like, this group, that could be pretty nasty. And I thought about it, and I said, Prince, I said, come on, man. I said, I think I've had my time with you. I said, I've given you the best years of my life. I said, now it's time for me to go find out who I am. I got to explore myself. I can't keep feeding you, and I walk away empty-handed at the end of the day. I said, I can't do it no more. And I remember he shook his head like this, and he was like, I get it. I understand. And from that point on, me and him were in good standing. And I mean, to a point where he even gave me a room at a real small studio at Paisley Park to work out of, even though I had a studio at my house. So I could pick up work and, with some of the inflow of the clients that were coming through. So, I mean, he was very cool with me. And then, Mazarati, he had a hand in on that. And
how did you get that off the ground, Mazarati?
I started Mazarati back in 1981, when I joined Prince. And because I wasn't for sure how things were going to work out with me and Prince, so I put together a group that I was going to be. Mazarati was going to be my band. Well, it was my band, but I was going to be in that band. That was my intention. And things started working out really well with Prince, so I decided it would be best for me to just keep building that group as an entity and live vicariously through them, because Mazarati is more my MO, writing style, stage style. I mean, everything about them was me. They were like 6 BrownMark clones, I mean, that's all they were. I mean, I really groomed them from, I took that group from nothing, and I really built that up in my mother's basement to where they were a force to be reckoned with. And when Prince found out that I had them, because I was called the Shadow, and of course, I was hiding my identity, but here this group comes out of nowhere, and they're taking over stuff. Mazarati was very aggressive.
100 miles an hour was a hit, yeah.
Yeah, it was. And so he found out it was me, and he gave me the speech again. We brothers need to stay together. And I was like, okay. I was like, you want to put them on Paisley? He's like, we should put them on Paisley, and why give that money to So, the record label, I have a label now, and we can just keep them all here. So that's how that whole thing came together. And so they became the first band ever to be signed to Paisley Park Records through BRM Productions, which was my production company.
Wow. Yeah. That's an interesting landmark, if you will.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm trying to remember, that record came out like 85, was it? Or 86?
Man, it's hard to say.
Because I'm trying to formulate the chronology, if it came out the same time or in relation to like Jesse Johnson's first record, or...
No, it was more like 86, because I remember when we did the parade tour, Mazarati opened for us at Cobo Hall, Detroit. I remember they opened up for us. I think it was Cobo Hall, Detroit. And, but then after that gig, he put them off. He put them off with some quickness. They didn't survive,
I had long heard, it's sort of like, it was like folklore of the industry about what happened with Kiss, and then to read about it in your book, was just really interesting after having heard about it for so long,
Yeah. And I kept quiet about it. Me and Prince had dialogue. He knew how I felt, because Kiss is just one of them. There's many songs that I didn't get credit for. I shouldn't say many, but there were a few that I did not get credit for, and I wasn't happy about it. But again, it was the whole reason why I departed. It's like I'm giving and giving, but I'm getting nothing back. See, and Kiss was just one of the big ones. It was one of the biggest hits of his career. A lot of people don't realize Kiss was one of the biggest hits of his career, and I wrote that complete rhythm section. You can't attribute that to nobody else. That was my stuff. That was Brown sound all the way, even to the bass. That he took the bass out of it. But he said, "Don't worry, I got you. I'm gonna take care of you." I've heard that before, but I figured this time he would be, he'd stick to it, because it was undeniable that it came from Mazarati, and how do you hide that story? You can't. That it's obvious where that song came from, because it was on their album. And he said, "Don't worry, I'll take care of the royalties and all that. You'll be taken care of." I never was, and for years, I fought back and forth with him directly through his cronies, his people, but to no end, nothing ever happened. I never saw a penny from it, and that hurts. That hurts. That was a huge record.
Number one, I think.
Number one. That song made a lot of money, millions. To just even think that, even if, I would have just gotten a fraction of what I should have gotten for it, it would set you for life, pretty much, So there was a lot of anger. That's when me and him kind of fell out again after that. And but years later, I'd never sued him. I never went after him. A lot of people call me stupid for it, but for me, it's like, it's a love-hate relation, man. Me and him were brothers, I don't care what anybody says. You got a lot of fans out there that, angry about my book and stuff. But the bottom line is, I don't care. Me and Prince had a really unique dynamic with each other. We were brothers. Big brothers beat up on little brothers all the time. I beat up on my poor little brother. And Prince, that's what he did to me. I was like little brother and stomping on me all the time, And it was just the dynamics of the two of us. And some of it hurt, some of it didn't. But I loved him. And so I couldn't get myself to go to that depth to bring up a lawsuit against. I just said, you know what? If that's the way you want to do it, I'll take my losses and I'll just move on. And that's what I did. And years later, he and I came back together, and we embraced each other as closer friends than we had ever been. And so it was a beautiful thing for me. I still didn't get paid, but it was one of the things that I was going to talk to him about. I was going to bring it up. I was like, look, Prince, you worth a few $100 million. Can you break a brother off? Kid, girls and boys. I was going to start, just talking to him about it. And then unfortunately he passed. And that was a really sad moment.
Yeah, gosh. There's such a dichotomy with Prince, it seems like, because he was so good at like building people up and kind of showing them the way in the industry, but then also sometimes kind of tearing them down a little bit,
Yeah, we have a lot of us have a running joke about what personality is he going to wake up with today. Yeah, he had several of them, And so if you got him on a bad day, it was just going to be a bad day, So, this dude's brain was working nonstop. I used to ask him, do you sleep? Have you been sleeping, man? Are you at least getting an hour a night? This dude was always gone, moving all the time. Every time I turn around, new song, like, man, give your brain a rest, dude. Give your brain, let the fogginess go away so you can start creating some new sounding stuff, but he would keep it going nonstop, crazy.
Do you think, I think about this a lot because it hit me so profoundly when he left us, but do you think the fact that he was sort of, like that he burned out a little early, because he was just so on 24/7 for so long?
I don't know if you would call it burnout. I'm a writer. Yeah, I write all the time. We want to talk about some archives. I got thousands of songs that will never see the light of day. It's just something we do, when you start to write, that's what you do. So I don't think he burned out. I just think he lost touch with where music was heading. The music was going this way. Prince was still doing Prince. And it got away from him. I think that's what happened, personally. And I remember once I had said to him, you should let somebody produce you. And I would even submit songs to him, hoping that maybe he would like them and say, hey, let's work on this together. But it just never happened. He liked to be in control of his destiny. And, I don't knock him for it, but, I just think that, he lost his way a couple of times, as all of us do. It's called writer's block, But he was the kind of guy that didn't let writer's block stop him. He would just keep it going. I got writer's block, but I'm writing a song.
Yeah, well, definitely there's that part of it, but I also meant just in terms of like physiologically, that he kind of ran himself down being so intense and on music 24/7 for so many years, kind of like a hamster on a wheel that doesn't never stops and gets a break, or a hummingbird or something. He was so into it for so long that maybe
That's a possibility. That's a good analogy. Not an analogy, but a good observation of him. And that is a possibility. I really don't know. I just have my own opinions about him, and I think that he just did not like to relinquish that power, that control of his own destiny. And then he started to do it with Third Eye Girl, which was a shock to me, because he had brought in, an outside producer, and I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah, Josh.
Yeah. So I was like, oh, maybe we'll see a different side of Prince now. He's going to let other people come in and start letting him see how the music industry has changed around him, because it was very different. He's still doing things, pretty much old school way. There was a new school of writers, and new sound. I mean, I had to sit back. I walked away from the industry in 1992. And I just observed for over a decade while I raised my two boys. I observed the change in where music was going, so that when I decided to get back in, I would have a good understanding of how to pursue it. And I'm still struggling because it's industry changing so fast. It's like, wow, does anybody know what's going on? So,
Yeah, I mean, you of course went on to work with Motown, and you worked with some, pretty name acts for that, and you put out some records through Motown, and
I can say I got to play with Stevie Ray Vaughan and Stevie Wonder. Not too many people can say that. I can say that I got to eat lunch in Berry Gordy's house underneath his waterfall. So I had a pretty interesting life after Prince. I had a very successful life after Prince, as far as financially, and as far as my music, expanding my musical horizons. I mean, I really got to do some really cool stuff. People don't know I have Pepsi commercials. I got cereal commercials. People don't know the depths of the things that I've done because I never talk about them. But I had wonderful opportunities after I got out on my own, and I can actually look back on my life and I can say, woo, I won it for nothing. I had it all. And I'm to this day, I'm a pretty happy man. Last time Prince saw me, he said, your spirit, he said, you're glowing. And I said, yeah. I said, I'm a happy man. I said, I don't have nothing to complain about, dude. I'm not rich like you, but, you can be happy without having the riches.
Rich on personality, like you said.
That's right.
Well, when you mentioned both Stevies, I was thinking, did you get to play Superstition with one of them? Because that's the common thread between Stevie Ray Vaughan and Stevie Wonder. Stevie Ray Vaughan did the Superstition cover.
That's exactly what we played. Yeah, we did an MTV MTV Music Special. The cool thing about Stevie Wonder is, we walked in there. I mean, there's no rehearsals, there's no nothing. And I'm walking in the studio. Stevie Ray Vaughan, all I hear is just, the guitar is so loud. The guitar is in a sound stage by itself. And there had to be a wall. If I had to guess, it was 10, 15 Marshall stacks with one microphone. It was the most hilarious thing I'd ever seen in my life. And Stevie Ray Vaughan's down the hall in the studios. I'm looking, I'm like, my God, that's noisy. And then, so I keep walking towards the studio, and I walk in, and there's Stevie Ray Vaughan, his little feather, and he's just getting down, man. And I'm just like, dang, this dude's amazing. I've never seen anyone record like that, And then Stevie Wonder was over there on the, what was that thing, the Fairlight keyboard. And just amazing cat, man. He was amazing. And they brought me over to meet him, and man, the rest was history. He basically he's kind of like Prince. He's like, just do your thing. You know the song, right? I was like, yeah. He said, you want to sing a verse? I was like, no. He said, why? I was like, man, me singing with Stevie Wonder? I was like, heck no. I was like, no, I don't want to sing. I'll just play bass. And he said, okay. He called me out in the song. If you ever find that tape, he says, he calls out my name because he wants me to sing a verse. And I was like, no. So he goes, I guess not. I was like, yeah, I'm not singing, bro.
Wow, that's a pantheon of greats right there.
Yeah. Smokey Robinson. I mean, I got to. Woo! Motown was a pleasure for me. It really was. Yeah.
And that was Motown was really trying to, I think, find the formula to get hits again at that point, because it was like Rick James was like fading away, and
the music industry was changing. That's when it started. So when I walked away from it, when I quit, that was about 1992. I remember also MCA came in. It was bought by Boston Ventures, and they hired him to come in and run Motown. And I remember it was Gerald Busby. I remember sitting down with Gerald, happy man, and he gave me a full release from my contract, full release. And I retired. That was it. I retired from the industry.
Are your sons do music at all?
They do, but I never encouraged them to get into the music industry though. But they do play. They both play guitar and bass. Excellent songwriters. But it's not a business that I wanted them to get in, and I'm so happy that they didn't. This business is a mess.
I wanted to mention, so people can look for it, that record you did, Cryptic. It's been a while. That was a strong record, you know, and it had a lot of diverse influences in it. You had some rock, you had some funk, and I think it definitely deserves another look, especially for people who maybe hadn't had a chance to check it out. Is it available?
Yeah. No, I mean it is, but you know, I'm gonna pull it because I'm gonna redo it and put it out properly. That song, I had a fallout with the partner that I had when I released that record, so I don't really push that record. The record that I push is my latest, House Party, and my single is Empty Handed, and that's on all digital platforms. That's the music that I'm pushing right now.
Well, this other one also came out in 2010, I guess.
6 Mil Breach.
Yeah, that's a good record. Yeah.
Yeah, that never that got pulled too. I pulled that. I had some partners down in Texas, and man, they were trying to pull the wool over my eyes, and I pulled that record at the last minute, and so it never got released. Yeah, I'm telling you, it's a dirty business. It's a dirty business, and you gotta watch yourself in this business because people are not. And, everybody wants to be a star. Everybody wants to shine. So I had to pull that record because it was about to be released. Even though my name was on it, all the background was in somebody else's name. 6 Mil Breach album, and I just happened to have stumbled across it. That's how I found out, and I had to call all the digital platforms and threaten to sue, and I mean it was crazy time period.
Wow, man, you've really been through it with that stuff.
It's just a crooked business. It's a real crooked business.
So what's the one that you would like to promote though? Can you state that again?
Yeah, it's called Empty Handed off the EP House Party, and you can get it on all platforms. They have it at Amazon. You can get it at Apple Music, Spotify, Tidal, you name it, it's everywhere. So just type in BrownMark and the Bad Boys of Paisley.
All right.
All that stuff will come up, yeah.
Look for that one. And are you still, you said you're writing, you got all these songs that you've written. You going to do some more in the future, or what can we expect?
I am. Empty Handed came out a few months ago, and that's just the beginning. So hopefully before the new year, I'll have another 2-song, 3-song EP I'm gonna put out. It's more of a soca music, more clip, like a little bit of reggae, a little bit of Caribbean feel, but funky. It's real unique, something I'm experimenting with, but I love it. I do what I like. I don't do what people dictate to me to do. I kind of put out what I like, and if you like it, then great. Because people don't buy records anyway, so I don't care.
And what about the Revolution? What's the status of the group as we come out of the pandemic?
It's hard to say right now. The whole music industry, everybody's hurting. This industry, that COVID-19 shut us all down. And so We canceled two tours. Two tours. I mean, and we lost a whole. I mean, I lost 2 years of revenue just with 1 year of COVID. You know, I mean, it's been really a bad ordeal. But I think that we're gearing up. We're looking forward to 2021. Um, Things are, looking like they start opening up in the summer, and so we'll see what happens. With our booking agent, we'll see how things go. Yeah, we're hoping.
Yeah, well, so that the upside of that is it sounds like the group wants to get back out there. It's just a matter of it being doable.
Absolutely. I'm hoping we get to go back and do that European tour that we had to cancel. So, and then I would love to go to Germany. I would love to see Australia. They love us over there, and they've just been patiently waiting. Australia, New Zealand, and I'm hoping that we get down to South America, over there at Brazil. So,
How fulfilling is it being able to bring that music, to people still? And
it's wow, cathartic. I mean, it's, man, we were depressed. A lot of people don't realize how hard his death was on us. We were closer to him than any fan could ever get. I mean, he was family to us, and yeah, we had our dynamics. We fought like family, but we loved that guy to death, and he loved us. That's why he kept in touch with us all these years. And we didn't always agree on things. He knew this book was coming out. He didn't like it, but he knew it was coming out. He knows me, and he said to me, "Just let me read it before you put it out." And I knew what that was all about. He would have bought them all up so that never. I know him. He would have just bought the whole stack, the whole inventory. But the bottom line is, that's the kind of dynamics we had, and we love that guy. And so when we go and gig now, what we're doing is we're giving back. It's like, man, we were the soundtrack to people's lives. A lot of people are born today because of the music we helped create. And Prince was our leader. He was our mentor. But it took a family. Yeah, he could have kept releasing Prince records, but he did a Prince and the Revolution for a reason, because he understood that if I really wanted to cross these boundaries, I needed to unite these genres. Wendy and Lisa brought uniqueness to the group. I brought a uniqueness to the bottom. Bobby brought that steady feel. Matt Fink, surgical on the keyboards. You put all that together, you have a very dynamic unit. We may not have been the most technical band that he ever had, but we were the most family. We played like family. We got up on that stage and we were a freight train. So we enjoy giving that back to the fans, and they enjoy it. There's, like I said, you got a lot of haters out there, but the majority of Prince fans, thank you for your support, because we appreciate you as much as you appreciate us, and we're going to keep the legacy alive. That's what we do.
Well, it's so fantastic and wonderful that you're doing that and able to do that,
Yeah.
And were you surprised at all at the outpouring from the entire world for him when he passed? Because, I mean, I assumed it was going to be significant, but it just kind of overwhelmed me at the magnitude of it.
I wasn't surprised one bit. When Michael passed, it was a big ordeal, right? It was huge, and I was like, when he passed, I looked at my friends. I said, "Oh, people, watch what happens. Watch what happens." The world lost an incredible musician. Michael was an entertainer. Prince was an entertainer and a musician on all levels. Songwriter, everything. Engineer. I mean, you name it. This dude did it all. And he has a following and a base that is so strong, they'll live with him forever. And I said, you watch what happens. And sure enough, as the weeks went on, man, the outcry worldwide, you could see it. The whole world mourned his loss. And people were like, wow, I didn't think Prince was that big. I was like, there you go. There you have it. He's like the Grateful Dead, man. You don't know how huge the numbers are until they turn out in concert. Grateful Dead, their following is massive.
Yeah, Prince heads.
That's it. Yeah.
Well, also his music, so much of it struck such a personal note for so many people. It wasn't just that he was so great performing and all that, but his lyrics and how intimate he was and his vocals and everything. I mean, like my wife, huge Prince fan. That's kind of why we met, and she connects with him for like a different reason than I do. There's like so many different levels. There's so many different fans that connect to him for all these different reasons.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, he was that's why he has a cult following. I mean, he connected with everybody on a different level. He was all things to all people, So the world lost an incredible musician. He was an excellent lyricist. This dude knew how to talk about a poet and didn't know it. This dude knew how to put together words, And the world is good. There's never going to be anyone like him. I can tell you that much. Not in our lifetime. We'll never see it.
I'm just glad I was alive to see it.
Yeah.
Exactly. What do you have any thoughts on the vault and how that's being handled? And do you think, or do you know are you on much material that might be in the vault?
I'm on a ton of material in that vault. But my attitude about the vault is, if he wanted it out, he would put it out. I don't like it how. I don't like it how. I agree he's gone now, and so you have to share a lot of that stuff with the world, but at least involve the people that were involved with it. Let them help you share that, because there's a story behind every single thing in that vault. And it hurts my heart when I hear music coming out of the vault that I know I was a part of, but you don't see my name appear anywhere. Let me tell my story. Let me tell people about how I rumbled on that bass line, or was I making a sandwich when I made that bass line? What was I doing? So let us tell our stories, because the revolution was on a lot of that stuff. I recall an interview that Prince said, the revolution has a lot of stuff in the vault. There's an interview where he says that right out of his own mouth. The revolution has a lot of stuff in the vault, and we do, because that was what we did every day. We were recording new stuff. I would come in so often. I try to get there early because I had my band Mazarati, and I would try to work on new material because I never had time. It was all Prince. So I would get there really early, and he was always late. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna go in early, fire up all the equipment, and I'm going to start working on songs for Mazarati. He'd come walking in early. I'm like, God dang it. Because the first thing he would do, he was like, what's that? And I'm like, just something I'm working on. He's like, oh man, what key is that in? And it was over. It was his. Because as the group started coming in, he'd start dishing out parts, and then it was over. We'd be jamming on that for the next 3-4 hours. The tapes are rolling. He's recording. So there's tons of that in the vault. Tons. And I would just like it if the family would just include us when this stuff is being released. Let us tell our story about it, and then at least the fans will understand where it came from.
Context, yeah.
Yeah, context. The Revolution, in my opinion, is the most underrated band that came out of the Purple camp. It's, they're all the bands were wonderful, MPG, everything, but nobody has our story correct. Let us tell our story. No one has the Revolution story correct. I hear things from the Revolution formed in 1979. No, they didn't. People don't realize the Revolution didn't form until late 1983. We were never called the Revolution. It was Prince. It was just Prince, 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 all the way up to 1983. I remember the day he approached me and said, with 3 names that I don't remember, but I remember he approached me and says, I'm thinking about, separating myself from the band and giving you guys a name. And he gave me 3 names. And I remember Revolution. The Revolution is what rang a bell with me. I said, man, go with the Revolution. Everybody else agreed. That's what he went with, the Revolution, Prince and the Revolution. He wanted a Sly and a Family Stone, a Fleetwood Mac. He wanted that family unit that he could go out with and write music with. You notice it says written and produced by Prince and the Revolution. See, but we don't get that credit. See, and that bothers me because there's a story behind it, all that stuff. Let us be a part of it. That's all I ever say, But who am I? I was the quiet guy that never said anything.
Well, I mean, the tragic thing about that is that that's what the fans would want too.
Exactly. Exactly. They would love to know the truth behind a lot of the music, And believe me, we got stories. We got more stories than people know what to do with.
Yeah, none of us are getting younger people. Let's make it happen.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree.
So, hey, I appreciate you so much spending all this time and sharing these stories. Just amazing talking to you. And I want to make sure that I, again, plug your book here. Get it, read it. You'll be glad you did. It's My Life in the Purple Kingdom, BrownMark. And so what year did you actually start working on this? Because you said that Prince was still with us when you started.
Yeah, what is this? It's 2020. So that means I had to start that in 2005. Yeah.
Wow.
Yep. Around 2005, 2006, somewhere in there. Yeah. I was raising my kids when I wrote this.
Huh.
Yeah. It was therapy for me because I was still struggling with a lot. I was having nightmares, about a lot of the conflicts and things that I had gone through. And a lot of it was being linked back. Like, I almost had a stroke, a lot of health problems, because of the stress. And a lot of it was being linked back to that time period. And so one of the things that I was advised to do is write, get a pen and paper, start writing. And I did, and it was the best thing that I ever done. I think about this Me Too movement that's out right now and how these women are brave and they're coming forward and they're telling their stories. And I was like, good for them, because you know what? That is so therapeutic to tell your story. And I got to tell mine, and I'm happy I told it.
Yeah, we're happy too. I mean, the story is not all roses, but the experience is, what it was, and very important. You can't deny any of that. So
absolutely, and I don't disrespect him once in that book, and that's the thing I always tell. I was really angry with the news articles that came out, talking about they picked up on very negative stuff in the book. Well, just dark stuff in the book and made it negative. They highlighted it as if that's what the book was about. And it really angered me, but there's nothing I can do. Journalist is going to do what he's going to do, but anybody that knows me and anybody that has read the book, they know that that's all a bunch of baloney, because I never diss Prince, never will. I loved him. That was my brother. And I miss him to this day, and I look forward to the day when I'll play with him again. you know, because I will.
Yeah, I want to see it on that cloud.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hey, beautiful, man. God bless you. Thank you so much. And best of luck with the book and your future music and your peace of mind and all of it.
Thank you, man. I appreciate that. Thank you. You are a good interviewer. I appreciate it.
Oh, thank you.